Ah, shit, what is this? This is a free-flowing idea. I haven't fully figured it out yet. I guess the title will be, the working title is, you want to turn a fan on for me, buddy? Turn a fan on for me. Understanding Christianity. We'll start out. Christianity through the lens of insurgency. Insurgency. Okay. Very provocative title. Is it? I'm not really an expert on the history of Rome or Israel, but I did have this idea. I think it's moderately interesting. I've never heard it expressed, but maybe it's been expressed. I don't know. Understanding Christianity through the lens of insurgency. So how does this go? It goes. So I'm going to juxtapose this with Vichy France and Nazis. France / Nazis. I'm talking about the French Resistance, not Vichy France, but the French Resistance, not the Vichy France. Technically, I'm talking about the French Resistance. I apologize. French Resistance, not Vichy France. French Resistance versus Nazis. And then on the other side, you have Israel, Rome, Israel, Israel. Okay, so the premise of this juxtaposition, I fundamentally am a bank robber. I need to be very blunt about this. I'm a criminal by nature. I'm not a good person. So I'm always looking for how do you rob the bank. So I want to be very blunt about this. My motivations are not good, even though I'm pretending to be an intellectual here within this. So what is you don't have to ask what my motivations are for this. The point of this is, where does the concept of humans as incentive versus morals. So incentive versus, we'll write it down like that. We'll call it, let's break this down again, give me some room. This is technically not a division anymore. Now we're back to a broad stroke. A Chinese person says, hey, here's a backpack. Put this backpack at the dam. China, Russia, it could be Nazi Germany in World War II. So bribe. Backpack. I'll give you $10,000 if you murder somebody. You know, like a bribe, an incentive. Incentive, bribe. So backpack, money, sex. World War II, Vichy France, chocolates. Chocolate, what else? Et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So what is the best explanation? This is the question I'm pondering here, is one worldview would say incentives have zero effect on humans. Incentives have zero effect on humans. That's a worldview that exists. Equal zero effect. That's a worldview. You'll hear it sometimes. And then the other one you'll hear is humans are nothing but 100% incentives. Incentives are everything. Equal to everything. Okay. So there's a paradigm of, on the one hand, everything is completely, you can't describe anything through incentives, and the other one is everything is just incentives. So what is the historical reason this exists? And this is where I think I've come up with a theory. Maybe it's new. It probably isn't. Rome invades Israel. Rome, what do they try and do? They try and bribe them. Divide and conquer. So how do you do that? You do it through bribes, money, ratting, bribes, money, ratting. Incentives. We just put incentives. So incentives. So you have the imagine you're some Israeli insurgent, and you're like, oh, I don't like those Romans. I don't like them. And some other guy's like, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. And then you're like, I don't trust that guy. He's gonna take Roman money and rat me out. So what is Christianity's obsession? They have an obsession with the idea that incentives do not create behavior. They have an obsession with this idea, by the way. They literally, it's one of the things that looks insane from the outside. It does kind of look insane, by the way. Until you understand Christianity is an insurgent religion whose fundamental bedrock is community in versus out group. So what seems like insanity, like, hey, I'll give you $100,000. If someone said, hey, I'll give you $100,000 to blah blah blah, I'm not going to say that out loud. You'd be like, hey, you're responsible for what that person does. So if I said I'll give you $100,000 to blah blah blah, and you went and did it, you'd be like, it's not my fault. He told me he'd give me $100,000. The person who. So how does this connect to Vichy France? Vichy France, same problem. You have ratting. In versus out group, like some Nazi gives you a chocolate, you can't get chocolate, right? Money, prestige, yada yada yada. So that's my theory about like what seems. It's just the fundamental, the bedrocks of Christianity are actually PTSD from Rome bribing its own people, so they had to create a system of vetting. We're gonna call it vetting almost. So I thought that was a new idea. It probably isn't. Also, America is like 20% of GDP. They're not the Israelis anymore. But it's just the fundamental bedrock of the religion is an insurgent religion designed to create vetting. So it's a very populist. It's a populist religion. It's a religion of I don't know what you call it, populism, but it's populism of what would you call it? Like a moral vetting populism? You want to call it moral vetting populism? I don't know. I'm just trying to make up an idea. I'm trying to rationalize something because postmodernism is supposed to be about the idea of looking for the rational reasons people do something, and I'm trying to create rational reasons for stuff. It's a game. You look for moral vetting? We're going to call it moral vetting. So that's a postmodern interpretation of Christianity's obsession with humans are not incentive-based creatures, but merely because it's a moral form of populism, vetting. Does that make sense? Because remember, the French Resistance got butchered, massacred multiple times, right? I think so. Yes. I'm not an expert on the French Resistance, but I know they had some leaks, and then the leaks created huge deaths. Leaks created huge problems. So that's where you're getting the populism from in Christianity. You're getting everyone's spying on everybody. So like, hey, how come that guy's got a chocolate bar? So you're going to get a lot of that. Like, everyone's like, why does he have a chocolate bar? Which means they're all snoopy. They're very snoopy. But that's because it comes from the Rome-Israeli PTSD event that was created within that's the bedrock of their religion. It's an insurgency religion. So that's my thesis. Is that a new thesis? I don't know. I liked it though. I thought it was interesting because it also takes. It's also it's an intellectual way of understanding something that it seems insane from the outside, and then you look at it and you go, "Oh, that's why they're doing that." Because I've seen this done. Islam. By the way, if you want to be pro-Islam, by the way, this is a tangent. Pro-Islam would be 50, 100 kingdoms. I don't know the number. Let's say you have like 50 different gods, and then one guy comes in and says, "You're all going to worship Allah." It's better to have like a whole country worshiping like Allah than like 50 different weird religions. It's like a forced monotheism. I'm not pro-Allah or pro-Muhammad here. I'm pointing out the postmodern interpretation of why someone could be pro-Muhammad. So that's my contribution to. Also, this gives people a inroads to understand. It gives you a psyche of understanding what's going on there when they're like, oh, incentives don't matter. It'll give you some insight into how to get into the bank vaults.